Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of RevOps Demos That Don't Suck. I am your host, Matthew Baum, CEO, co-founder of RevOps Co-op. And today we are going to be chatting with Kieran Rice, who is the sales manager over at Capchase. And specifically, we are going to be talking about and taking a look at the Capchase Pay product, which is essentially a buy now, pay later solution for SaaS. But before I jump into questions and start to kind of pepper you with a bunch of questions, Kieran, why don't you add anything to that personal professional introduction that you want, and then any context to the kind of the Capchase pay kind of introduction that I provided as well.
Yeah, of course. Great to be with you, Matt. Appreciate the time here. And yeah, in terms of the just personal professional, been with Capchase now just coming up on 2 years. And so been with us through a really interesting period of growth. I think the main thing to maybe just kind of intro, Capchase, we started as a provider of revenue-based financing, right? So we will to B2B SaaS companies, we will lend against their annual recurring revenue, which we see as an asset. They can bring that forward and pull essentially a line of capital that they can plug in for growth. And to do so, we have them connect multiple data sources through an integration, banking, accounting, and billing, so we can assess the business and get the right metrics. Through our time doing that, what we actually identified, because we have over 3,000 connections, again, specifically to these B2B SaaS companies, we noticed some trends in the business around sales cycles lengthening, negotiation periods taking longer, just essentially friction in the sales process. And that was also causing friction for finance teams, for revenue optimization teams. And hence we launched Capchase Pay, like you said. To sum it up, it's a simple buy now, pay later for SaaS, and looking forward to discussing further.
Awesome. So before we dive into the product and the solution, I always like to start with the problem space. And you hit on it, I guess, a little bit on that kind of introduction, but what are some of the problems that these revenue operators at B2B SaaS companies might be experiencing today on a day-to-day basis, week-to-week basis, month-to-month sort of basis that you all are looking to solve for at Capchase?
Yeah, of course. I mean, in my interactions with our internal revenue operations team, I think the constant themes I'm hearing for things that they're looking to optimize for, streamlining processes to optimize revenue. Very interested in predictability, which ties into sales forecasting, which our tool is a great help for. Always interested in making decisions, informed decisions off of data, and ideally things that are automated, like integrations and easy processes around those. And then another big thing we're always talking about is sort of trying to, how do we ourselves and help others expand their TAM, right? So an outbound growth perspective is always something we're looking at from the RevOps side of Capchase. And Capchase Pay is a really good solve for that. But I guess I'd paint a picture maybe for you, right, of like life before Capchase Pay, where you could imagine a world of, say, like stalled sales cycles. Reps are being delayed by pricing negotiations, budget constraints on the prospect side. With that, RevOps teams maybe are struggling to predict their revenue. Perhaps they're burdened by churn, or inconsistent cash flows. Reps are fighting uphill battles. They're losing deals to cheaper competitors. Those competitors are offering flexible payment options, and perhaps finance teams, they're drowning in like manual billings and collections processes. They're wasting time. They're wasting efficiencies, kind of chasing people down for invoices and whatnot. Really, Capchase Pay can be the antidote for that. Turning sort of that sort of bleak scenario that I painted into more of a vibrant reality, and looking forward to kind of digging into the details.
Yeah. Yeah, and I know I've been there before myself, trying to right, close deals where, it's important to have, right, like on the seller side, right, you're trying to maybe collect cash up front, align that with billing cycles, but understanding that that also is a bigger ask of the buyer than, something like monthly payment options, quarterly payment options, and with all of those things that you're, asking for or looking to get, right? Those things can take time, right? They can stall, they can cause people to evaluate other solutions. So all those problems that you mentioned are very, very real, for sure. And so if if that's the, like you said, that's the pre Capchase pay sort of life, right? Where you're stuck with, the billing options that you're able to offer, internally, without having any flexibility on that. Because of that, maybe you're losing some deals, your sales cycles are longer than they need to be, your forecasting accuracy is lower because you're not able to get a, good understanding of what deals will actually close and when, depending on some of those billing and payment things that you're negotiating or finalizing. So if that's the current universe of, like what my day looks like, then where does Capchase Pay fit in? How do you all solve for some of that? And, maybe this is where you can kind of pull up the product a little bit and start to show us around and talk through some of those RevOps use cases.
Yeah, for sure. So I think in terms of breaking down the key problems solved, and again, trying to look at it at a RevOps perspective, and knowing that this is also a highly effective sales enablement tool. I guess the breakdown for me would be problem solved are slow sales cycles, right? So with Capchase Pay, you're able to offer flexible payments to your prospects, right? You can eliminate price haggling and or discounting, which we see all the time. SaaS companies advertising their pricing on their sites, right? It could be anywhere from 20, 30, in some cases 40% off to pay annual upfront, because that's what the business wants, that's what RevOps wants, that's what finance wants, and so sales is pushing really hard for that. You can eliminate this essentially by offering flexible payments. So you're closing deals faster because you don't have to go through these extended negotiations on pricing, et cetera. And then you can still collect upfront payment from your customers through Capchase. They pay us flexibly. We would pass along the entirety of the ACV to the vendor SaaS company on day one. So speeding up those sales cycles is a huge problem we solve. I think secondly would be just trying to firm up what can be kind of unpredictable revenue, right? So you can kind of say goodbye to uncertainty, and you can secure guaranteed upfront payments on all deals, while again allowing your customer to pay in their desired, cadence of installment. So unpredictable revenue. The other problem we hear a lot is, high churn rates, right? So keeping customers happy, right? Flexible payments allow that option allows you to fit into their budget. Ideally, that's reducing churn and potentially even like boosting renewal with customers who were maybe on an annual plan initially, but they're looking for flexibility on their renewal, maybe evaluating some competitors who offer that, also using it on your existing book of business to keep churn rates down. And I guess a last key would be solving for inefficient operations. So everyone's always looking for maximizing efficiency in their processes. With Capchase Pay, being an expert in the sort of finance space for 3 years, collecting the payment installments from our customers who are formerly taking lines of capital and paying us back over time, right? We're expecting payments from them. And so we've built processes that we now offer to our Capchase Pay vendors that automate billing and collections processes. So for RevOps, right, we're freeing up resources that they can maybe use for more strategic initiatives. And again, efficient operations is the implementation, right? In terms of the ease of getting set up with Capchase Pay, like you could get set up and close your first deal in as little as 24 hours. So I have a few more points on that I could show now, or we could maybe get to later.
Yeah, that's awesome. And And yeah, I would love to, because I think, we all have a kind of a sense of, like at least on the consumer side, right, what buy now, pay later kind of means. And so would love to kind of see that in action in terms of like what it means within the Capchase product. And maybe we can start with like one of the questions I have is around, like you said, getting started, right? So what does that process sort of look like? You mentioned it can be, as quick as 24 hours that you can kind of get moving and rolling on the platform, but how would someone, kind of get started? And then what does it look like once they do start to deploy Capchase to their own customers?
Yeah, yeah, of course. So in terms of like trying the product, there is essentially a self-serve component. There's really three paths you could take. There's a self-serve sort of demo, right? So you can literally go to capchase.com, put in an email and password, and just register for the platform. No commitment, no obligation, and explore at your own pace through our what we call our vendor hub. Um, there's then more of sort of a free trial aspect that comes with that as well. So you can essentially test drive Capchase Pay with real data and results. So I can actually show you. I think the beauty of the platform is again like how quickly you can implement this into a sales operation and a sales process. What essentially happens if you have, let's say you're looking at your current pipeline, maybe you have a few deals in there where you've sensed some pricing sensitivity, or you're truly in the midst of a competitive battle with a negotiation process. What you can actually do is I'll pull this up real quick. So, we have integrations with HubSpot, with Salesforce, and then again, just without needing to do any of that, right through our vendor hub. But essentially, the process remains the same. You're back to that scenario I was discussing, looking over your pipeline, looking for ways to try to move the needle on a deal. Within HubSpot, right, all you simply need to do is run the prospect, your buyer in question, through what we call a KYB, a know your business check. This is not a hard credit check. The buyer, the prospect is given no notice this is happening, right? It has no impact on them whatsoever. We're simply looking at the fields you see here, the business name, so perhaps the DBA, the legal name, the website, and the address, right? And then from there, you simply click qualify buyer. It's about a 90 to 95% qualification yes process. And it takes anywhere from 30 to 60 seconds. Says here 2 to 5 minutes. That's maybe being a bit generous. But essentially, what we're qualifying them for is, can you offer them Capchase Pay? So right as a salesperson in your HubSpot instance, you can go ahead and know, okay, this is someone that I'm qualified to offer flexible payments to. From there, when you go to actually proceed with the prospect, again, the next step is just simply generating a payment link. So if your prospect has refused the annual upfront proposal, they're insisting on monthly. If monthly is not something that you currently have the ability to offer to your prospects, great fit for Capchase Pay. You plug in the annual contract value, and it breaks it down into the monthly installments. We can also do quarterly or biannually, and even more complex schedules depending on the product. That's obviously shown to the sales rep to kind of confirm that everything looks correct. It shows the sort of due dates for each of the payments. And you can confirm and create that payment link right there and send it out to the prospect. They will see the same interface on their side, confirm the amounts, confirm the due dates, and they will make installment one to Capchase, at which point that money comes to Capchase. We send the entirety, in this example, $100,000 out the door to the SaaS vendor. So quick and easy, 2 to 5 minutes for the whole thing. And we again have that similar setup. This is the vendor hub here. You can see now, okay, that's active, it's ready to get paid. But we have that similar flow in Salesforce, plugs right into the app. You can go ahead and qualify the buyers, set up the payment links and the schedules and send it straight from here and track where they are in the process. Again, if people are more looking to just sort of test it out and not looking to directly integrate straight away, they can simply go through our friendly vendor hub with almost the exact same flow, same information and functionality.
Yeah. And so so I guess a couple questions. What's the trade-off that the business, the B2B SaaS company is making in terms of like if they were going to sell $100,000 product up front, are they foregoing a portion of that revenue that'll essentially like maybe get collected by you to offer the flexible billing, or what's the economic trade-off for them in going through Capchase?
Yeah, in terms of the sort of ROI equation, right? So pricing transparency, very important to us. And so on each contract finance, there is just one fixed fee that it is sort of negotiated upon, the business metrics of the SaaS vendor, Capchase's evaluation, and then that fee is, set in stone for the remainder of the relationship. You can also, as the vendor, negotiate with your prospect, right? You have the ability to decide on each contract who pays that fee, or even the ability to split it amongst yourselves, if that's better for the negotiation. I think what we see a lot of from the SaaS vendor perspective is they're offering $100,000 contract. They will discount the pricing, anywhere from 17 to 30% to still get that commitment annual upfront. They don't offer month to month. They're insisting on annual. With Capchase Pay, what we're sort of recommending and what we've seen work really successfully is, let's just say it's a 10% fee on the $100,000 contract. So what we would suggest to the SaaS vendor is build that in to the $100,000 contract. So we're now looking at 110, and now we can go ahead and split that up into 12 months. It's essentially we don't offer monthly, but the cost of us, being flexible for you is there's a slight additional
There,
cost on your monthly payments.
yeah, no, that makes sense. I mean, but even, as I was thinking about it, and to your point, right? Most companies, I'd say nearly every SaaS company that I see out there, the discount that they offer to pay annually is typically much more than 10%, right? It's typically 20, 30, even like you said, 40%, right? So if you're looking at like, hey, today, I'm typically willing to discount 20 to 30% to get that annual payment, then, like I think we're having some internet issues.
Yeah, I've got you back now. I
Okay.
think you froze off for my side just when you were kind of saying most businesses are doing the much more than a 10%. So even offering 10% is better than, what they're typically offering.
Okay, cool. Yeah, we can start there. All right. Yeah, so like you said, discounts on annual commitments are, typically much more than 10%, right? Anywhere from typically 20 to 30% that I would see. And so even if you absorb the fee of 10, let's say 10% yourself, you're still coming out way further ahead than what you otherwise would, and you're eliminating all of, like, say, the risk along with having to collect the money on an ongoing sort of basis. And this is actually like another thing that I know I've experienced in the past, right? Where someone's like, oh yeah, like, I'd love to just like I'll commit annually, but we'll do quarterly payments, right? And it's like, okay, like that's fine, right? And then you get to like, the third, you get to like the third quarter and that payment's made, and then all of a sudden like the fourth quarter rolls around, and then they're like, you know what, like we're just gonna cancel early and like not make that last payment and all of that stuff. And you're like, well, like if I would have collected that money up front or something like that, I would have had the cash in my pocket, right? And all of that gets eliminated with something like this. And process looks super simple in terms of being able to navigate that directly from the CRM.
Correct. Yeah. And I would just add, no setup fees, while we're on the topic of sort of like cost and ROI, no setup fees, no integration fees. Those come standard out of the box, and we can customize to the Salesforce or HubSpot instance as much as needed. And should go without saying, but no hidden cost, right? It's truly just that fixed fee per contract that can be applied on either side or negotiated. But which should be win-win, right? Compared to what you mentioned there, just the norm in terms of discounting.
Yeah. And so I know we saw obviously the HubSpot integration, the Salesforce integration on the CRM side. Are there I guess are there other common or popular integrations like I'm thinking about like do you all integrate with the like existing Stripe accounts or payment processing accounts that people are using, or are they setting up a different payment processing account, or are you the payment processor through their side? Like thinking about like other integrations outside of the CRM that are popular.
Yeah, so I think one thing that we've identified very quickly here is, in particular, like I'd call out not being able to currently directly integrate with CPQ solutions, right? So as we said, we do plug directly and easily, quickly into the CRM, but we don't interact with those CPQ solutions a lot of folks have. But look out for more, deeper functionality from us in the very near future on that side of things. In terms of supporting a long-term relationship with our vendors, kind of goes back to our history that I mentioned previously, right? As a capital provider, non-dilutive capital provider for SaaS, to evaluate businesses on that side of things, we have them connect their banking, billing, and accounting integrations. So Stripe, Plaid, QuickBooks, Zoho, you name it, right? Those integrations are all fully in terms of providing us the information we need without prodding you for updates through the integration, to essentially support the long-term partnership between Capchase and our vendors.
Very cool. And I know we talked obviously like B2B SaaS companies typically a good or obviously a great fit for the product. Do you have some examples of like current customers, current logos that are seeing success with the solution that you can share?
Yeah, of course. So again, just in terms of the general sort of ICP, B2B SaaS companies of all sizes, especially those with growth ambitions, companies facing pricing sensitivity challenges, struggling with long sales cycles. I think most people are facing those kind of challenges today. And again, it's not necessarily have to be every single deal, right? It can be used when needed, and that's sort of how it's designed. And then lastly, there's more general, those companies who are offering discounts to get annual upfront payments today, which, just about every SaaS company out there, if you check pricing pages. And so those are kind of the more general kind of tenets for, ICP or things that may pique interest in evaluating. And in terms of some, super successful logos that we have right now, company called Builder AI. Their flagship product is called Studio Pro. It's a no-code app builder, which leverages reusable features and AI to allow for full app or website customization. And then another really successful partner of ours, a company called Science with a C. They are SaaS and people as a service lead generation company. They essentially help businesses grow through what they call the Go platform. And sort of SDR as a service offerings. And so again, these companies that are offering services that they bill on an annual or recurring basis, if they can't get the annual collected up front, they saw us as a great fit to plug in and solve challenges for them in their later stage pipeline. And even in the event that you're able to offer your own, monthly billing structure today from finance through your own product, you're still essentially financing your customer in a way, depending on how soon you're paying commission to the sales rep on that monthly sale. If there's any initial outlay of labor, like an app build out or hardware or anything like that that comes along with the product. And so instead of financing them and trying to recoup the cost and spread it out over 12 months, you may offer that already, use Capchase Pay, doesn't change the prospect's experience. They still get to pay monthly. You as the vendor just get that revenue up front to plug into go-to-market motions or other strategic initiatives and plug into growth essentially.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's huge. And yeah, just eliminating that again, like the downstream credit risk associated with having to collect those payments yourself, but then also like just again think about all the manual work and processes involved with that, and again all those things that maybe you take for granted, like you mentioned, paying out commissions, right, on deals where you're collecting monthly payments, right? Like that's cash, like you're sending cash out before you've collected all of the value, right? And so inherently there's risk in that. And again, just the more and more you do that, the more and more dollars you can lose as a company. So yeah, so that makes perfect sense. On the I mean, we talked about kind of pricing, we talked about where folks see value, we talked about common integrations, how quickly it is to and easy it is to get started. I guess last one of the last questions I have for you is if you had to pick just like one, I guess like one thing, like what sets Capchase Pay apart from other competitive products or even just like the manual or old way of doing things? What's the one thing that you would say kind of puts you all at the top?
Yeah, I mean, I would say it's customer centric focus, right? So the product doesn't, we don't just say help close deals, right? It's empowering our customers with flexible payment options, which they love. And then we're also then set up to kind of scale with them and their customer needs, right? So expanding into more geographies and more currencies to really make this a product that can be used by, any and all SaaS businesses where, we're looking to empower them and they're looking to close more deals and also empower their customers and, be amenable to budgets while still being able to achieve their goals.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. And again, it's something that I've experienced multiple times on the RevOps side, BizOps side, the finance side, on the sales side as well. And having a flexible and just like easy solution, right? To like get started, get set up, use it when I want to. I can totally see the value in that. And so I appreciate you kind of dropping some knowledge and sharing more on the product and the solution with us today, Kieran.
Yeah, Matt, been an absolute pleasure. Really appreciate the time and yeah, looking forward to speaking again soon.
Yeah, man. And actually, with that, if folks do want to either try it themselves, test it out, I know you talked a little bit about this up front, but what are some of the ways that they can get started? Where can they go? How can they, give things a spin?
Yeah, absolutely. So I mean, capchase.com would be the starting point for any and all, whether that's looking to just kind of register, do a self-serve exploration, the free trial, again, exact same place. And I should mention, when you sign up, you can start sort of qualifying those buyers as we walked through right there without talking to a sales rep, signing any contract. And we do include a signed copy of our own MNDA immediately upon registering on the platform if there's any data concerns. And then from there, if there's more interest in just like picking our brains, right, obviously we have, our sales team on standby click the button to get in touch with sales for more personalized guidance, discover how we can help transform your RevOps.
Awesome. Awesome. All right, my friend. Well, I appreciate you giving us the walkthrough and the rundown. And yeah, for everybody out there, capchase.com is the place where you can go and get started and give this thing a try for yourself and yeah, see how it works. So with that though, Kieran, I'll let you run, and to everybody who listened, thank you, and we'll see you all on the flip side. So take care, everybody.